Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast sharing wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to reveal their 6 travel secrets and the trips and holidays that uncover them. Today, my guest is my old friend, the fabulous British fashion designer and now famous podcaster of Style DNA, Amanda Wakeley. Amanda returned to the UK after living in New York in the late 1980s and set up her fashion brand in 1990 after she struggled to find clothes that she wanted to wear herself. The brand went on to create power suits and gowns for the A-listers, from Princess Diana to Jennifer Lopez. Amanda describes the Wakeley woman as a world traveller with infused inspiration from the 1990s and her time absorbing the East African style on her many travels. Amanda has travelled far and wide, from the Masai Mara to Antarctica, and she is easily one of the most adventurous travellers that I have ever met. As wellness has a strong hold in her life, her travels very much reflect this. So I'm sure that her travel secrets will be centered around high-octane energy. Welcome, lovely Amanda. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. Gosh, what an intro, Tanya.
Well, you are all of the above and more, and we've known each other for many, many years, so there was much more that I could say, so I tried not to say too much, but it was enough. I'm so excited to hear all about your travel secrets and who you are and how travel has impacted you. So perhaps before we get into those travel secrets, you could just give us a general overview on how travel has impacted your life.
Gosh, travel is the ultimate luxury. I really do. And having time to do it. It's impacted my life hugely because I think as a designer, I always say your eyes are like sponges. You're just absorbing visual information. And although I never specifically travel to a destination for a collection, for inspiration, you're just absorbing and absorbing. And that's a real privilege. And also, I suppose, thinking about travel and packing is, okay, how do I, as a woman, want to put myself together for these different destinations?
And I bet you're a wonderful packer. I am honestly the most disgusting packer, and I travel all over the world, and I go for 2 days or for 2 weeks, and I take the same amount of luggage. And in fact, our friend Trini is a brilliant packer, and I'm going to ask her for a packing class, but I bet you're an amazing packer too.
That is so interesting to hear you claim that you're a rubbish packer, because I think packing is an art, and sometimes I'm excellent and sometimes I am really awful. In fact, there was a wonderful moment when Hugh and I were off on this massive expedition to Antarctica, but it was a proper ski mountaineering trip. And we had a kit list that went as long as your arm, from ice axes to crampons to all sorts of safety kit. And he saw me laying the stuff out, and then with this stack of cashmere behind it. And he just looked at it and he just said, halve it. And he wasn't talking about the safety kit. He was talking about my
the
yummy cashmere.
Oh, you had to take the crampons, but not allowed the cashmere.
But not as much as I'd like to have done.
But I bet you did take some. And I remember, and I still have many of your wonderful jumpers with the silk cuffs.
Yes.
And they are the most beautiful, luxurious and wonderful things to travel in. I always wear one on a plane.
I do think cashmere on a plane is, and layers is a fundamental for me, because I get cold on planes, and so yes, cashmere, a couple of big pashminas instead of those nasty static blankets that every airline seems to provide.
No, and I bet you look ultra chic when you're traveling as well.
Well, I try. I'm just aware that it's got to be form and function, comfort and style, and just trying to visualize yourself walking through the airport on that journey, arriving at the destination. It's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think I've got that down to a good T, but it's just the shoes and things like that. I mean, I always take too many shoes when I'm traveling.
Always take too many shoes, because actually I think shoes are transformational and to your look. And So yes, actually, you can sort of take one dress but 3 pairs of shoes and
And
it
change the whole look.
yes.
Thank you to Antler for collaborating with us on the launch of Travel Secrets. Antler is the British travel brand for those who travel often since 1914. With over 100 years of travel expertise, Antler is renowned for designing and manufacturing quality luggage. Each suitcase embodies pioneering British design, combining innovation, function, and durability with a lifetime warranty. Explore Antler's latest collection at antler.co.uk. So let's get into your travel secrets. Travel secret number 1. What is the number 1 location or destination that you believe everyone should go to once in their life?
For me, it's Venice. And I know that probably sounds really corny, but it is the most extraordinary city I've been to and go back to again and again. It's achingly romantic. It's so unique. It's so steeped in history, centuries. And so much history has gone through that city. And yet you go there, and every time there's a slightly voyeuristic pleasure of seeing the locals live the Venetian way. And it is extraordinary.
I think that is the key to everything. It's to go to a destination and live like a local and not a tourist, or try to see it from the locals' point of view, not the tourist's point of view.
That's so true. I mean, I've been there many times, but we went with a group of friends a couple of years ago, and one of them Airbnb the most amazing house. So the real idea was we wanted to live like Venetians just for a weekend, and we did exactly that. And it was wonderful, just visiting the local shops, popping into the local supermarket, and really getting a feel for how it is that you either walk everywhere or you're on a vaporetto or a canal boat and water taxi. And I'll never forget, at 6 a.m. on the Sunday morning, the flood sirens went off. And actually, it was deeply disturbing.
Very frightening.
I've never heard these sirens before. And suddenly you find yourself in that sort of slightly flight or fight state. You're in a deep sleep and you hear these really eerie sirens going off. We'd noticed that the water was very high anyhow, but we live in this very cocooned world, and to suddenly hear that sort of siren is quite alarming.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
interestingly, literally the following week, the ground floor of the house that we stayed in
Flooded.
was completely flooded.
How extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the problem with Venice, which is why people should go now, because who knows what's going to happen with climate change. There's an amazing hotel, and I'll find out the name and I will actually put it in the chat afterwards of the podcast, which is owned by a family right on the waters next to the Gritti. And it is a bed and breakfast, and the family bring you breakfast in bed or in the room, fresh croissants, wonderful coffee. It's a third of the price of the big hotels, which are amazing. But honestly, if I was going to Venice and I had a lower budget, I would absolutely highly recommend this. So I will definitely put that in the chat afterwards.
Oh, fascinating. Because I think the fact that the Biennale's held there is just magical. I'll never forget, we were there for a friend's 40th birthday back in 2011. And we went to the church of Santa Giorgio to look at Anish Kapoor's Ascension.
Oh, how
And that
amazing.
was really out of this world. And it was that sort of vortex of smoke that went all the way up to these extractor fans into the dome ceiling. But just the whole feeling of this, the art was just smoke. And the cleverness of this installation, it really got you thinking.
One other tip, in 2025, there is a new hotel opening by a hotel group called Les Arels. They have one in Courchevel,
yeah.
and they have the one in Versailles and Val d'Isère, but they're opening a hotel right next to the Cipriani. and its garden is double the size of the Cipriani.
Oof.
So that will be definitely worth looking out when you go next time in a couple of years.
Amazing. I mean, Venice is extraordinary, isn't it? When you think of the variety, whether you're just walking through the back streets and looking at the canals and the bridges, or going to any of the museums, or going to Murano to see that unbelievable craft and sort of historic craft of the glass blowing is just
And
magic.
there's a wonderful island called Torcello, which is great for Sunday lunch. It's a Cipriani restaurant. It's not called the Cipriani, but it's something de Cipriani. And it's like going to the Colombe d'Or in the south of France. It's got a great garden. You sit outside, and you don't even need to take a private water boat. You can go on just the normal one, so anyone can get to it. It's really fabulous.
Sounds gorgeous.
Let's go on to travel secret number 2. What is the most unexpected experience that you've ever had when you've been traveling?
I would say going ski mountaineering in Antarctica. It was an extraordinary adventure. It was a proper expedition. There was nothing warm and cozy about it. It was perfectly comfortable, don't get me wrong. But Hugh and I had always wanted to go to Antarctica. And when friends of ours said, well, actually, we're going ski mountaineering then, which basically means that we were based on a ship. So we boarded in Ushuaia, southern tip of Argentina. We spent 2 days sailing over the Drake's Passage.
Which is very hairy.
Was lumpy, let's put it that way. And then arrived on the 7th continent, and every morning we would be zodiaced ashore after the team of scouts had made sure that the survival kits and all the rest of it were already on the land, and we would climb with skins, with skins on our skis. So we would climb everything that we then skied down. But we were on glaciers, so it was very safety conscious. We were all roped up to a guide, so 4 skiers to a guide in groups of 8, and it was extraordinary. I mean, the depth of field, the light, the icebergs,
the quiet, I would think.
The complete disconnection from the rest of the world. I really felt like I had visited another planet.
I mean, I read your article that you wrote on that in How to Spend It, and I just was gobsmacked. First of all, that you did it. Secondly, that you climbed all the way up on the skins. I mean, how long did it take you to climb every day before you actually skied down?
Well, it depended on where we were. Our longest ascent was on Mount Britannia, and I think that was a 2.5-hour ascent, and I think that was 1,300 meters vertical. But at the top, the 360 views were absolutely out of this world. And then, of course, 2.5 hours up is probably
half an hour down.
Not even. But exquisite, and sort of skiing around crevasses and just seeing what I would call proper ice sculptures that have just been honed by the wind and the elements as just exquisite. Another day we were on a little island, and it was sort of shaped like probably almost like a shamrock leaf, and we would climb up and then ski down and climb up another and ski down. And then, you'd get to the water level, and before you knew it, there would be penguins popping out onto the snow next to you.
How
just
extraordinary.
Not even really looking at you, totally unafraid. And obviously, we were highly respectful of the environment. And then they just plop back into the water. It was extraordinary.
How fun. I mean, that honestly is an amazing, unexpected travel secret. Fantastic. Well done.
I remember one afternoon, not skiing and not climbing, having the opportunity to spend a couple of hours in a Gentoo penguin colony. And a girlfriend and I went ashore and just immersed ourselves amongst these just fabulous, busy little creatures, and they were up and down their penguin highway. It was pretty smelly. You don't even think about that because they're so endearing. They're purposeful and so clumsy on the land, and then you see them plop into the sea and they become as elegant as dolphins. They're
Yeah.
just,
It's actually incredible, isn't it, on land? They just waddle around, don't
yeah.
they? It's
Yes, and then they fall over onto their bellies, and then they toboggan on their bellies. It's just
wonderful
so
to watch.
endearing. And they just don't even notice you. You could be a letterbox as far as, well, or a rock, maybe
Amazing.
more likely in Antarctica. I mean, the one other thing about Antarctica that I found extraordinary was, you'd get off the Zodiac and you would be standing on rocks and you'd think, maybe no other human being has ever stood on this rock before. And that, in this very, very overcrowded world that we live in, is sort of an extraordinary
That's just amazing.
privilege.
Yeah, that is a privilege. It
Yeah.
really is. How wonderful. Let's go on to travel secret number 3. What is your most overrated travel experience?
I love to always try and find the positives in life. However, Hugh had bought at a charity auction this experience in Italy, and we decided we'd go for my birthday. And it was a hotel called L'Alberetta, and it was in Brescia. We were really looking forward to sort of late summer sun and just a couple of days sort of on our own, because we'd had a very busy summer, and it was just a catalogue of faulty towers.
Oh, no.
You look at the brochure online and you think, oh gosh, that looks really nice. And you get there and it was just above and beyond. And it was a relais and chateau, and it should have been a lot better. But what they had neglected to say when Hugh booked it is, we've got a wedding that weekend. And, we were promised a certain grade
Type
of
of
room. And I mean, I can honestly say the one we were first shown to when we arrived was,
Box.
a box. You could not swing a cat in it. Then we were taken to the one other available room, and honestly, it was as though it had been decorated by some teenage boy on a testosterone-driven frenzy. It was just above and beyond, with no view, which was supposed to be a view over the vineyards. It was of the fire escape, and the smell of the kitchens came wafting. And then we sort of sat by the pool thinking, oh, this would be gorgeous. Let's have a bottle of wine. No. I mean, this is a 5-star hotel. 5-star, I suppose, but it's really a chateau.
It must be, yeah.
And we couldn't even get a bottle of water by the pool. I mean, and the food was pretentious. And we both love really simple, beautiful local ingredients, not
absolutely.
too messed with. And this was, you'd think a simple pasta would just be,
Exactly,
that's what you go to
perfect.
Italy for.
And a bottle of
even
wine.
that. No. Anyhow, it was...
Shame.
Yes,
That's so
it was a shame.
Listening to you talk about the room, I remember my friend Michael Winner, who, as you know, was a hotel and food critic. I sent him somewhere once, which I knew he wouldn't like, and I told him he wouldn't like, but he had to go there because he was going to something. And he phoned me when he arrived, and I knew he was going to say it was dreadful. And he said to me, the room looks like Helen Keller has designed it. I knew he would hate it, though. Oh, dear. Well, let's go on to something that's not overrated. And let's talk about food and drink, because you were talking about, what sort of food and wine. Where is the best meal you've had, or what would that be, or cocktail, or just talk to me about food and wine, drinks.
Cocktails. Hugh and I decided that, I can't remember why this was, but we sort of fell in love with Bellinis in Italy one summer. And we decided in Positano that we'd go on a Bellini hunt. And we literally went on
A bar to bar.
bar to bar, yes. And we ended up at the Hotel Caruso at sunset,
Oh, wonderful.
having the most heavenly, sublime Bellini I've ever tasted. I mean, I can still taste it. Those pink peaches must have been just literally crushed behind the bar. It was
how
absolutely
wonderful.
heavenly. So that's definitely a very firm favourite.
And actually go at sunset. It's a fantastic time to go because the views are just
views
exquisite.
Are spectacular. And Il Scolio,
Oh, I don't know that. Where's
that's
that?
off Positano, but you have to get to it by boat. The food is literally grown by the family and caught by the local fishermen and all the rest of it. Just absolutely exquisite. But I think for me, probably being on the back of the boat and eating just the freshest local produce. To me, I'm not a 3 Michelin star type girl.
Neither am
It's
I.
never, I never sleep after eating that food. I think it's a beautiful craft and I'm in awe of the chefs that do it, but it's just not,
Not you.
it's not me.
No, not me either. But great. And off the back of a boat, how wonderful.
Well, I think the privilege of that is then, you know, you've got sundown, and then if you're bobbing at anchor in a quiet bay, you've got no light pollution. It's, you know, you go literally from dinner table to lying on a back deck and just looking up at the stars and doing our favorite spotting of shooting stars. It's always a
how wonderful.
competition.
Travel secret number 5. What is your best insider travel secret?
I would say try to go somewhere you've never been before once a year. I think we can all become creatures of habit and our friends go here, there, and we want to be with them, etc., etc. But I think taking yourself out of your comfort zone once a year is a good one. For me, the adventure of being on the sea is a real privilege. And so with that, we get the taking ourselves to somewhere we've never been every year. I love the getting on board, unpacking, and knowing that I'm there. And yet you're traveling with that is wonderful. And dealing with the elements, it's not always plain sailing. Storms can pick up in the middle of the night and other boats can drag anchor onto you, as happened to us once in the Bay of Cala de Volpe in Sardinia,
Wow.
just when we least expected it. We knew there was going to be a storm that night. Everyone was anchored very carefully. But, you know, when you're woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning by sirens and sort of foghorns of a mega yacht that is dragging anchor and is about to come down
Smashing
onto
into
you,
you.
it's
Wow.
pretty sobering. And you look into the sky and there's 20 bolts of lightning all over the place. And so it can be wonderful, but it can also be edgy and you really feel very alive in the elements.
Do you think sailing is quite accessible for people if they don't have their own boat?
Well, it's interesting. One of my nephews is a yacht charter broker, and he has an incredible way of looking at it, saying, actually, if you charter well, either as a group of friends or as a couple of families, it doesn't actually have to cost you any more than going to a hotel. And you have these incredible experiences, and you can take a yacht with a captain and a first mate on it. So you don't have to be a sailor to have these wonderful experiences and be able to access these places that you can't actually access from land more often than not.
We used to do a flotilla holiday with my family in Greece every year. And we were the most mutinous crew because we were terrible sailors. My father thought he knew how to sail. He really didn't. In the end, they would always have to put a skipper on our boat because we would crash into the rocks. And at the end, you know, they have a prize giving thing. They gave him a cat of 9 tails for the most mutinous crew. It was hilarious.
Oh, but
so
what,
fun.
what
so
incredible
fun.
memories for
Yeah.
you as kids,
Yeah.
and the freedom
Yeah.
that, you know, you wake up in the morning and you just jump overboard. And that doesn't have to be off a flashy, fancy yacht. These flotilla holidays really introduce a lot of people to sailing
Yeah.
and to just be very self-sufficient. Sometimes catch your lunch, go into the local food markets and buy just the best, freshest tomatoes and salad leaves, and all of that is, you know, and a fresh fruit is just a delight.
And going to the tavernas, which are really not very fancy, but wonderful food.
Yeah.
They were great fun. I loved every single holiday. It was fabulous. So travel secret number 6. What memory have you got of a holiday or a trip which is very poignant to you still now?
Well, one that I'll mention briefly was staying with a girlfriend and in her home just off Pink Sands Beach in Harbour Island, and it was quite a catalyst time in my life, and it was the most exquisite beach, and I love waking up just before dawn and walking along a beautiful beach
Beautiful.
at dawn. And the Pink Sands beach was just breathtaking. And I remember her wonderful Bahamian housekeeper saying to me at the end, she said, "There ain't no woman that walks up and down a beach like that first thing in the morning unless she's got things on her mind." And I certainly did. So it was a very catalytic moment, but what a glorious place to work out where my life was heading next. Let's leave it at that. But I think India really, really sank into my soul the minute I got off the plane there. I was there for work. I used to do a lot of my embellishment production there, and that was just, and also jewelry production there. And it was such a privilege to go and visit the factory and see these craftsmen, whether they were, there would often be a dozen men, always men with the embellishments sitting around a frame on the floor, and they chose to sit on the floor. I, talked to the factory owner. I said, "Come on, why don't they have tables and chairs?" And no, this is the traditional way. They prefer to sit like this, cross-legged, and actually it's probably far healthier. So to visit those factories and also go up to Jaipur and visit stone cutting factories, that was fascinating. And just seeing sacks of raw stones, proper Hessian sacks with aquamarine and rose quartz and all those, smoky topaz, just massive great sacks, and see the process
of them cutting.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Was wonderful. So I was single at the time, and I mentioned to a couple of friends, I'm going to India on this work trip, but I want to bolt on. And so 2 random friends said to me, "Yeah, we'll come." So we were this really weird sort of modern family on the road together and heading up, and we decided to do the Golden Triangle. And I was a bit ambivalent about going to the Taj Mahal, and I will never be ambivalent about going to see one of the 7 wonders of the world again, because turning the corner at dawn to go walk into the Taj Mahal, I found I had goosebumps all over me, and I saw that mausoleum, and I promise you I had tears in my eyes.
Did it take your breath away?
Took my breath away. And I so didn't expect it. But, in terms of impactful places to go to, that was hugely impactful to me.
And it's really interesting. I mean, it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's like the Great Wall of China. People say, but actually when you see that, it's unbelievable.
Yes,
it really is.
And that is certainly on my bucket list.
Is that on your bucket list? So yes, where are you?
On my bucket list.
You're saying go somewhere new every year, and obviously you have your boat, so we'll talk about that. But where is on your bucket list? Where would you like to go next?
Well, we are off to Greenland in April. Wow. Yes, very exciting. Need to get even fitter.
Oh my goodness.
We're going ski touring there, so that will be extraordinary, I think.
Amazing.
God, I've got so many places on my bucket list, Tanya. I want to go to Iceland. I'm dying to go there. I would just love to get in a really good car and drive as much as possible. I think that would be an incredible trip. I want to go to, some of these places are going to sound so corny, Skeleton Coast, Namibia.
Yes.
I mean, really, Mozambique.
Yeah.
I've been to the north of South Africa, the northeast of South Africa, Zulu-Natal, and the beach there was just, and it's supposed to just go all the way on up into Mozambique, but I think that would be an incredible place to go. Oh, I want to go to the Atacama Desert in Chile. I'd love to spend more time in South America. I think Buenos Aires blew me away.
Yes, it's incredible.
Loved it. I'd love to go on a horseback safari in Mongolia. I mean, do the Mongolian steppes. And just actually live a nomadic life for a week or two, I think would be incredible.
Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of places to go, so you definitely have to go. And I would say rather than once a year, I think you need to do at least twice a year to somewhere new, because you've got a lot of fabulous places to go to.
There's a lot. We need to have a conversation about
that. We do. I'll send you to lots of those lovely places. So finally, I asked you to bring a photograph which meant something to you or summed up travel for you. So perhaps you can talk to us and show us your photograph.
So I have bought this photograph.
Oh, that's stunning.
Of our old sailing boat, Savannah, which was a glorious, glorious 90-foot modern classic sailing boat. But there's a new project that Hugh is busily working on, and he is restoring a very, very special heritage J-class yacht at the moment called Shamrock 5. And it's, I say to him, there's 3 of us in this marriage, not that we're married, but it's a passion project for him. And so that will be our next sailing adventure.
When will that be done?
Hopefully this spring. She'll be relaunched. She was built originally in 1930, and through years of use and probably misuse, she ended up needing to basically be rebuilt, and which he has undertaken with a team of incredible craftsmen. So we are looking forward to having her in the water this summer.
How exciting.
Which is so exciting, and visiting some of our favourite spots and getting to know a new boat. And so that will have all its challenges and be a big adventure. It will be a wonderful, wonderful project.
How exciting.
Yes.
Wow. And beautiful photograph. Thank you so much for bringing it. Before we wrap up, I'm going to show you a photograph which I found. So when I was doing my thinking about this podcast, I went through my old photos. I found a photo of me 30 years ago in my very first Amanda Wakeley outfit, which I had saved up for ages, and you were very kind and invited me to a sample sale. It's when I used to get into a size 8 or 10. So a long, long time ago, but I don't know if you remember that outfit, but that was the outfit that I bought, which was my very first Amanda Wakeley.
I do, my goodness, look at you.
And
gorgeous.
I adored it.
Gorgeous.
Sadly, I do not have it anymore, but it was a wonderful way to start becoming a Wakeley woman.
Oh, well, you wore it well.
Thank you so much, darling. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for sharing your travel secrets, how exciting your life is and your travel secrets have been. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, I could have talked for hours, Tanya.